She walked into that marriage thinking she was trading her future for survival. A blind man with no power, no wealth, no place in the world. At least that's what everyone told her. But from the very first night, something didn't feel right. The way he spoke, the way he noticed things no one else did, and the secrets he never explained. She thought she was giving up everything, never realizing she had just married the true heir, the one man who could change her life and her heart forever. Rain fell in steady sheets over South Chicago, turning the cracked sidewalks into mirrors of flickering streetlights. Water dripped from rusted fire escapes, pooled along the curb, and soaked through the worn soles of Ava Johnson's shoes as she stood on the narrow porch of the house she had never truly called home. Inside, laughter cut through the sound of the storm. "Sign it already," her stepmother said, her voice sharp and impatient, like a knife tapping against glass. "We don't have all night." Ava stepped inside, closing the door behind her. The smell of cheap perfume and fried food hung in the air. The living room lights were too bright, making everything feel exposed, like a stage she hadn't agreed to stand on. At the center of the room, the papers waited. Marriage documents, her name already printed neatly at the bottom. Across from her, her stepsister Kayla sat sprawled on the couch, one leg tucked under her, phone raised and recording. The red light blinked steadily. "Say something for the camera," Kayla said with a smirk. "This is a once-in-a-lifetime moment. My sister marrying a blind nobody." Ava didn't respond. She walked forward slowly, her damp jacket clinging to her arms, and stopped in front of the table. "You should be grateful," her stepmother added, crossing her arms. "Most girls would beg to marry into that family, even if he's damaged." The word lingered in the air. Ava's eyes moved to the papers again. The ink looked too clean, too final. "Blind," Kayla chimed in, laughing softly. "They say he barely leaves his house. Uses a cane, sometimes a wheelchair." "Honestly, Ava, it's kind of perfect." "Perfect?" Ava asked quietly. Kayla shrugged. "Yeah, he won't have to look at you. And you won't have to pretend you're something you're not." The laughter came again, louder this time. Ava felt it press against her chest, heavy and familiar. She had heard versions of this her whole life. Different words, same meaning. Not enough, never enough. Her fingers curled slightly at her sides, then relaxed. "Why me?" she asked, her voice calm, almost too calm. Her stepmother sighed dramatically, as if the question itself was exhausting. "Because someone has to do it. Your father made an agreement years ago. We don't honor it. We lose everything. And Kayla?" Ava glanced toward her, scoffed. "Please, I have a future." Silence settled for a moment, broken only by the rain tapping against the windows. Ava looked around the room, the peeling paint, the second-hand furniture, the photographs on the wall that never included her. She thought of her mother, of the small apartment they used to share before everything changed. The way her mother used to hum while cooking. The warmth that used to fill a space no matter how small it was. That warmth was gone, replaced by this. "You've been living under this roof for years," her stepmother continued, her tone turning cold. "Eating our food, wearing clothes we paid for. It's time you contribute something." Ava's jaw tightened. "My mother paid for most of this house," she said quietly. The room shifted. Kayla rolled her eyes. "Here we go again." Her stepmother's expression darkened. "Your mother is gone, and everything she had became part of this family." "You sold her things," Ava said, her voice still steady. "Her jewelry, her paintings, everything." "And you're still here, aren't you?" her stepmother snapped. "Still eating, still sleeping. So don't stand there acting like you've been wronged." Ava didn't flinch. Instead, She stepped closer to the table. The pen lay beside the papers. For a moment, she didn't move. The rain outside grew louder, as if the whole world was holding its breath with her. Kayla leaned forward, whispering loudly to her phone, "Watch this. She's actually going to do it." Ava picked up the pen. It felt heavier than it should have. "You're really doing this?" Kayla said, a hint of disbelief creeping into her voice. Ava didn't look at her. "I'm not doing it for you," she said. Her stepmother laughed softly. "Of course you are." Ava shook her head. "I'm doing it," she continued, her voice low but clear, "because I'm done fighting for a place that never wanted me." The room went quiet. For the first time, Kayla stopped smiling. Ava lowered the pen to the paper. Her hand didn't tremble. She signed her name, Ava Johnson. Just like that. It was done. Kayla let out a sharp laugh, breaking the silence. "Wow, that was easier than I thought." Her stepmother snatched the papers, scanning them quickly before nodding in satisfaction. "Good, very good." Ava set the pen down carefully. "I want something," she said. Both women looked at her. "Excuse me?" her stepmother replied. "I want what belongs to me," Ava said. "My mother's things, whatever is left." Kayla burst out laughing. "There's nothing left." "Then money," Ava said, meeting her stepmother's eyes. "Enough to start over." Her stepmother narrowed her gaze. "You're asking for money now? After everything we've done for you?" Ava didn't look away. "You didn't do anything for me," she said softly. "You just didn't throw me out." The words landed harder than any shout. For a moment, no one spoke. Then her stepmother exhaled sharply. "Fine, a small amount, and that's it. Once you leave tonight, you are no longer our responsibility." Ava nodded once. "I understand." Kayla shook her head, muttering, "Greedy." Ava ignored her. Minutes later, a small envelope was placed in her hand. It felt thin, but it was something. "Take it and go," her stepmother said. "Your ride is waiting." Ava turned toward the door. For a brief second, she paused, not to look back, just to breathe. Then she stepped outside. The rain hit her immediately, cold and relentless. At the curb, a sleek black car waited, its headlights cutting through the storm. The driver stood beside it, holding an umbrella. "Miss Johnson?" he asked. Ava nodded. He opened the back door. She climbed in without hesitation. The door closed behind her with a soft, final sound. As the car pulled away, Ava looked out the window. The house faded into the rain, its lights growing smaller, dimmer, until they disappeared completely. She leaned back against the seat, the envelope still in her hand. Her reflection stared back at her in the glass. Tired, quiet, but unbroken. Somewhere ahead, a life she didn't choose was waiting for her. A man she had never met. A husband she didn't want. A future no one believed she deserved. Ava closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them again. Whatever was coming, she would face it. The car sped through the rain, heading toward a place she had never seen. And somewhere in that unknown, one question lingered quietly in her mind. Who was the man she had just married? Really? The car moved smoothly through the rain, leaving the noise of South Chicago behind. Streetlights blurred into streaks of gold against the glass, then disappeared as the city thinned into quieter roads. Ava sat still in the back seat, her hands folded over the envelope, her reflection faint in the window. No one spoke. The driver kept his eyes forward, steady and silent, like this was just another routine night. But nothing about this felt routine to Ava. Hours passed. The rain softened into a light drizzle by the time the skyline changed. The buildings grew taller, cleaner. The roads widened. The air itself seemed different, less heavy, less crowded. New York. Ava had only seen it in pictures. Bright lights, endless movement, people who never seemed to stop chasing something. But as the car turned off the main road and into a quiet, gated neighborhood, the noise disappeared completely. Here everything was still. The gate slid open without a sound. The car rolled forward, tires gliding over smooth pavement lined with trimmed hedges and tall trees that swayed gently in the night breeze. Soft golden lights illuminated the driveway ahead, revealing a large estate that seemed to rise out of the darkness like something from another world. Ava's breath caught. Just slightly, the house wasn't just big, it was controlled. Perfect. Like every detail had been measured, placed, and protected from anything messy or unpredictable. Nothing like where she came from. The car stopped. The driver stepped out quickly, opening her door and holding an umbrella over her before she could even move. "Welcome, Mrs. Hale," he said. The title felt strange, heavy. Ava stepped out onto the dry stone path, her shoes no longer sinking into puddles. The rain barely touched her now, blocked by the wide umbrella and the tall structure looming above. For a moment, she just stood there, looking up. This wasn't a home. It was a statement, and it was one she didn't understand. The front doors opened before she could knock. A woman in a dark uniform stood inside, her posture straight, her expression carefully neutral. "Good evening," she said. "We've been expecting you." Ava nodded slightly and stepped inside. Warmth wrapped around her immediately, soft and quiet. The floors gleamed under low lighting. The air smelled faintly of polished wood and something floral she couldn't quite place. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. Her footsteps echoed softly as she moved forward. A few staff members stood at a distance, watching. Not openly, not rudely, but enough for her to feel it. The weight of being out of place. She had seen looks like that before. Not good enough. Not one of us. "Your things will be taken care of," the woman said, gesturing for someone to take Ava's small bag. Ava held on to it a second longer than necessary before letting go. "Where is he?" she asked. The woman paused, then inclined her head slightly toward the far end of the hallway. "Mr. Hale is waiting." Ava followed. Each step felt slower than the last, like the house itself was stretching the distance between them. The hallway opened into a large living area, dimly lit, with tall windows that reflected the soft glow of the lamps, and there, near the window, he stood. Or rather, he sat. Ethan Hale. He was in a wheelchair, angled slightly toward the glass. His face turned toward the faint light outside. Dark glasses covered his eyes, reflecting the room behind Ava as she approached. A cane rested against the arm of the chair. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, without turning his head, he said quietly, "You made it." His voice was calm. Low, not cold, but not warm either. Measured. Ava stopped a few steps away. Yes. Another pause. The rain tapped gently against the windows, softer now, like a distant memory. Ethan reached for the armrest, adjusting his position slightly. The movement was controlled, practiced. "You can come closer," he said. Ava hesitated, then stepped forward. Up close, she could see the details. The clean lines of his suit, the stillness in his posture, the way his fingers rested lightly, as if he was always aware of where everything was. He didn't look like what they had described. Not broken, not helpless, just quiet. "I suppose we should introduce ourselves properly," he said. A faint smile touched his lips. "Brief and almost invisible, Ava Johnson," she replied. "I know." Something in the way he said it made her pause. Not dismissive, just certain. "And you're Ethan Hale," she added. "Yes." Another silence stretched between them, but it didn't feel as sharp as before, more uncertain. "I'm sorry about the circumstances," he said after a moment. Ava blinked, caught off guard. "Most people don't apologize for things they benefit from," she said. Ethan tilted his head slightly, as if considering that. You think I benefit from this? Ava didn't answer. Instead, she glanced at the room around them, the size, the quiet control, the distance between everything. You don't look like someone who's forced into anything, she said. Ethan let out a soft breath. Not quite a laugh. Appearances can be useful that way. Before Ava could respond, footsteps approached from behind. Sir, a man's voice said, respectful but firm. Everything is prepared. Ethan nodded once. Thank you, Marcus. The man, tall, composed, clearly used to being in control, gave Ava a brief, assessing look before stepping back. Your room is ready, Ethan said, turning his attention back to her. You must be tired. I've been worse, Ava replied. Again, that almost smile. You'll find that we don't expect much here, he said. Only respect. Ava frowned slightly. Respect for yourself, he said simply. The words landed softly, but they stayed. No one had said that to her in a long time, maybe ever. Before she could process it, a voice cut through the room. Dinner will be served shortly, sir. Ava turned. The staff stood ready, waiting, not just for him, but for his approval. Ethan nodded again. Make sure she eats first, he said. Ava blinked. That's not necessary. It is, he interrupted gently. There was no force in his tone. But there was no room to argue either. The staff moved immediately, adjusting, preparing. Ava stood there, unsure what to do with the moment. No one had ever prioritized her like that. Not like this, not without asking for something in return. She looked back at Ethan. His face hadn't changed, still calm, still unreadable. You don't know me, she said. No, he agreed. Then why? Because I saw how they looked at you when you walked in, he said. Ava froze. They, eh? She asked. The people in this house, he replied. And the ones you left behind. A quiet tension settled in the room. And I don't allow that here, he added. Ava searched his face, trying to understand, trying to find the angle, the catch. But there wasn't one. Not that she could see. Sit, he said, gesturing slightly toward the table. Ava hesitated again. Then slowly, she sat. The chair felt too clean, too perfect. She rested her hands on the table, unsure where to look. Across from her, Ethan remained still, not watching her, but somehow present. The staff moved around them, placing dishes quietly, efficiently. The soft clink of plates, the faint hum of distant air conditioning, the gentle rhythm of rain outside. It all felt unreal. Ava picked up the fork, paused, then set it down again. You said you don't expect much, she said. Ethan nodded slightly. But what do you expect from me? She asked. For the first time, he turned his head fully toward her. Even behind the dark glasses, she felt it. That focus, that you stay, he said. The answer was simple, too simple. Ava's chest tightened slightly. Just stay, she repeated. For now, he replied. The words lingered. For now. Ava looked down at the table, then back at him. The rain outside had stopped completely. The world beyond the glass was still, too still. And inside this house, something didn't feel right. Not dangerous, not yet. But watched. Ava swallowed slowly, her instincts sharpening. She didn't belong here, not in this silence, not in this perfect, controlled space. And as she glanced toward the far end of the room, where the shadows seemed just a little too deep, a thought crept into her mind. If this place didn't want her, then who did, and why? The questions lingered in Ava's mind long after the house fell quiet. That night she lay in a bed softer than anything she had ever known, staring at a ceiling too smooth, too perfect. No cracks, no stains, no reminders that life could be messy. It felt wrong. Sleep didn't come easily. Every sound, the faint hum of electricity, the distant creak of the house settling, the whisper of wind brushing against the windows, felt amplified in the silence. Like the walls were listening, like the house was waiting. When she finally closed her eyes, it wasn't rest. It was surrender, and she woke before the sun. The sky outside was still a deep shade of blue, the kind that comes just before dawn. Ava sat up slowly, her body stiff from tension more than exhaustion. For a moment she didn't move, she just listened. Nothing. No shouting, no doors slamming, no voices tearing through the walls, just quiet. She slipped out of bed and walked to the window. The ground stretched out beneath her. Perfect lawns, trimmed hedges, trees standing tall and silent. A different world. Ava wrapped her arms around herself, then turned away. If she was going to stay here even for a little while, she needed to understand it. She left her room quietly, her footsteps soft against the polished floors. The hallway was dim, lit only by low lamps casting warm pools of light. She'd followed the faint smell of something familiar. Coffee. The kitchen was bigger than her entire old house. Steel counters, marble surfaces, everything spotless, untouched. It didn't look like a place people used. It looked like a place people admired. Ava hesitated at the doorway, then stepped in. She found the coffee machine first, studying it for a second before figuring it out. The soft whir of the machine broke the silence, filling the space with a warm, comforting scent. That felt real. She poured herself a cup, wrapping her hands around it, letting the heat sink into her fingers. For a moment, it felt like home. Then she noticed the tray. It sat near the far counter, neatly arranged with breakfast items, toast, fruit, a glass of juice. Everything untouched, waiting. Ava frowned slightly. She glanced around the empty kitchen, then back at the tray. No one else was here. No one was coming. Without thinking too much about it, she picked it up. The hallway seemed longer this time, quieter. The early morning light crept in through the windows, soft and pale. She reached the living area where she had met Ethan the night before. He was already there, same spot, same stillness. The wheelchair angled toward the window, his figure outlined by the faint light outside. The dark glasses were still in place, reflecting the room in muted shapes. For a second, Ava just stood there, watching him. He hadn't heard her yet. Or maybe he had. She stepped forward. "I brought breakfast," she said. Ethan didn't move immediately. Then slowly, his head turned slightly toward her. "You didn't have to do that," he said. Ava set the tray down on the table. "I know," a small pause. "Then why did you?" he asked. Ava shrugged lightly. "Because it was there," she said, "and no one else was doing anything with it." Ethan's lips curved just slightly. Fair enough. She moved closer, adjusting the tray so it was within his reach. Her movements were careful, instinctive, used to taking care of things. "Toast is on the left," she said. "Fruit in the middle, juice on the right." Ethan nodded once. "Thank you." Ava stepped back. She didn't sit, didn't linger, but she didn't leave either. She watched as he reached for the glass, his movements precise but not hesitant, not searching blindly, more like remembering where things were. Her eyes narrowed slightly. There it was again, that feeling. Something didn't add up. Ethan took a sip, then set the glass down. "You're awake early," he said. "So are you. I don't sleep much. Me neither." Another silence. But this one felt different, less heavy, less sharp. Ava glanced toward the kitchen, then back at him. "You don't eat with the staff?" she asked. Ethan shook his head slightly. "They have their space. I have mine. That sounds lonely." The words slipped out before she could stop them. Ethan didn't respond right away. Then, "Sometimes," he said. Ava studied him for a moment. There was no self-pity in his voice, no bitterness, just truth. She moved toward the counter, picking up a cloth she found nearby. "You missed a spot," she said casually, wiping a small mark on the surface. Ethan tilted his head slightly. "I did?" "Yeah," Ava replied. "Right there." She finished wiping, then set the cloth down. "You clean too?" he asked. Ava let out a quiet breath. "I do whatever needs to be done," Ethan nodded. "That's a useful skill." Ava gave a small shrug. "It's survival." The word hung in the air. Ethan's fingers stilled slightly on the edge of the table. Before he could respond, a sharp sound broke the moment, a plate slipping, a quiet gasp. Ava turned immediately. One of the younger staff members stood near the kitchen entrance, frozen, a broken glass at her feet. Juice spread across the floor in a slow, sticky pool. "I'm sorry," the girl stammered, her voice shaking. "I didn't mean—" "It's okay," Ava said quickly, already moving. She knelt down, grabbing a towel before the girl could even react. "Careful," Ava added softly. "Don't step forward. You'll cut yourself." The girl nodded, stepping back, her eyes wide. Ava worked quickly, gathering the broken pieces with steady hands, wiping the spill before it could spread further. "It happens," Ava said gently. "You're fine." The girl swallowed, nodding again. "Thank you," she whispered. Ava gave her a small smile. "No problem." She stood, carrying the broken glass toward the trash. Behind her, Ethan hadn't moved, but his head was turned, listening, watching in his own way. "You didn't have to do that either," he said. Ava paused, then glanced back at him. "I know," she replied again. Ethan was quiet for a moment. Then, "You keep saying that," he said. Ava leaned lightly against the counter, arms crossed. "Yeah," she said, "because nobody ever says it to me." The room fell still. The morning light grew a little stronger, casting soft shadows across the floor. Ethan didn't speak right away. When he did, his voice was quieter than before. "That's going to change." Ava looked at him, really looked this time, trying to understand, trying to see past the glasses, past the stillness, past the mystery. "You don't know that," she said. "No," he admitted, "but I know this." He paused, then finished softly. "People who give without being asked don't stay invisible forever." Ava felt something shift in her chest. Small, unfamiliar. Hope? No. She shook her head slightly, pushing it away. Hope was dangerous. She had learned that a long time ago. Still, she picked up another cloth, wiping down the counter again, slower this time. Across the room, Ethan finished his breakfast in silence. The house remained quiet, but something had changed. Not in the walls, not in the air, between them, and neither of them knew exactly what it was yet, but they both felt it. It lingered in the air long after the kitchen had emptied. The staff moved quietly, returning to their routines. The broken glass was gone, the spill cleaned, the counters restored to their flawless state. If someone had walked in at that moment, they would never have known anything had happened. But Ava knew, and Ethan did too, that small moment, her stepping in, helping without hesitation, had shifted something neither of them could name. Ava wiped her hands dry and set the cloth aside. She turned to leave but paused when she noticed Ethan hadn't moved. He was still sitting there, facing the window, the morning light growing stronger behind him. "You don't have anywhere to be?" she asked. Ethan's head tilted slightly. "I do," he said, "but I don't rush." Ava gave a faint nod. Must be nice. Ethan didn't respond to that. Instead, he reached for his cane, lifting it slowly, tapping it once against the floor as if grounding himself before standing. His movements were careful, deliberate, but again, something about them felt too precise, too familiar. Ava watched closely this time. really watched. He stood from the wheelchair with steady balance, adjusting his posture without the slight uncertainty she expected. His hand brushed the back of the chair, not searching, but guiding. Like he already knew exactly where everything was, her eyes narrowed just a fraction. "Do you need help?" she asked. Ethan paused, then shook his head. "I'm fine." He took a step forward, then another. The cane tapped lightly against the floor. Not erratically, not searching, but in a measured rhythm. Ava followed him with her gaze. Something wasn't right. She felt it again. That quiet, persistent question. He stopped near the doorway, his back partially turned to her. "You're staring," he said calmly. Ava didn't deny it. "You move like someone who's done that a long time," she said. "I have. That's not what I meant." Ethan was quiet for a moment. Then he turned his head slightly, just enough for her to see the reflection of the room in his dark lenses. "What did you mean?" he asked. Ava stepped forward. "You don't hesitate," she said. "Not really. Not the way I've seen other people do when they can't see." The air shifted. Not dramatically, but enough. Ethan's fingers tightened slightly around the cane. "I've had years to adjust," he replied. Ava studied him. "Years don't make you perfect." Another pause. Longer this time, the house seemed to hold its breath with them. Then, Ethan exhaled softly. "You're observant," he said. "I had to be," Ava replied. Something flickered across his face, so quickly she almost missed it. Respect? Maybe, or something deeper. Before the moment could stretch further, footsteps echoed down the hallway. "Marcus," he approached with quiet authority, stopping just short of Ethan. "Sir, your meeting has been moved up," he said. "They're expecting you within the hour." Ethan nodded once. "I'll be ready." Marcus's gaze shifted briefly to Ava, then back to Ethan. "Will she be coming with you?" he asked. Ava blinked. "With you?" she repeated. Ethan considered that for a moment. Then, "Yes," he said. Ava stiffened slightly. "I didn't agree to that." Ethan turned toward her again, calm as ever. "You didn't disagree either. That's not the same thing." "No," he said. "But it's close enough." Ava folded her arms. "I don't belong in whatever meeting you're going to." Ethan tilted his head slightly. "And yet you belong here." The words were simple, but they landed heavier than she expected. "I don't even know what you do," she said. Ethan's lips curved faintly. "That makes two of us," Ava frowned. "That's not funny. It wasn't meant to be." Marcus cleared his throat softly. "Time is limited, sir." Ethan nodded again, then looked back at Ava. "Get ready," he said. "For what?" "For the part of my life no one ever sees." Aka hesitated. Something about the way he said it, quiet, almost guarded, made her pause. "You're asking me to walk into something I don't understand," she said. "Yes, and you expect me to just follow?" Ethan didn't answer right away. Instead, he took a step closer. Not too close, but enough. "I expect you to do what you've been doing since you got here," he said. "And what's that?" He met her gaze, or at least it felt like he did. "Decide for yourself." The room fell silent again. Ava looked at him. Really looked this time. At the man everyone had called broken. At the man who moved too precisely, spoke too carefully, saw too much for someone who wasn't supposed to see anything at all. Her instincts told her to walk away, to keep her distance, to not get pulled into something she couldn't control. But another part of her, the part that had stayed when everything else told her to leave, held her in place. "Fine," she said finally. Ethan gave a small nod. "Good." Marcus stepped aside, already pulling out his phone, coordinating something unseen. "I'll have a car prepared," he said. Ethan turned, moving toward the hallway. Ava followed. This time she watched every step, every movement, every detail. And just before they reached the door, it happened. A decorative vase near the entryway shifted, just slightly, unstable. Ava saw it first. But Ethan reacted, before the vase could fall, before the sound could even register. He reached out, caught it, perfectly. No hesitation, no searching, no delay. The room froze. Ava's breath caught. Ethan stood still, the vase in his hand, his grip steady, too steady. Slowly, he set it back in place. Silence stretched between them, heavy, unavoidable. Ava didn't move, didn't blink. "You caught that," she said quietly. Ethan didn't respond. "You didn't even think about it," she continued. Still nothing. Her voice sharpened. "Just slightly. You saw it." The word hung in the air. Saw Ethan's hand dropped back to his side. The cane rested against the floor. For the first time, there was a crack, small, but real, in the calm. Ava stepped closer. Her heart pounded, but her voice stayed steady. "You're not as blind as they said, are you?" Ethan remained silent, but his stillness said more than words ever could. And in that moment, everything shifted. The man she thought she understood, the man she thought she married, wasn't who he claimed to be, not even close, and the question that had followed her since the night before finally had a shape, but not an answer. Because if he wasn't truly blind, then what else was he hiding? The question didn't just sit in Ava's mind, it burned. Ethan said nothing, not immediately. The silence between them stretched, tight and sharp, like a wire pulled too far. Then, slowly, he reached for the cane again, not in panic, not in guilt, but with the same controlled calm he had shown from the moment she met him. "You're observant," he said quietly. Ava let out a small breath, one that almost sounded like a laugh, but there was no humor in it. "That's not an answer." "No," he agreed. "Then give me one." Ethan turned slightly, not fully facing her, but enough that she could see the tension in his jaw. "I don't owe you explanations," he said. The words landed harder than she expected. For a second, Ava just stared at him. Something inside her tightened. "Closed, right," she said softly. "You don't." She stepped back. The warmth from earlier, the quiet moment in the kitchen, the small sense of something real between them, vanished like it had never existed. In its place, something colder settled in. "You should have told me," she added. Ethan didn't respond. "Not because I deserve it," Ava continued, her voice steady but low, "but because you stood there and let me take care of you like that." Still nothing. That silence hurt more than any words could have. Ava shook her head once, sharp. "Forget it," she said. "Let's go to your meeting." She turned and walked toward the door without waiting. Marcus stepped aside instantly, opening the door for her. The morning air rushed in, cool and clean, carrying the faint scent of rain that had passed. Ava stepped outside first this time. No hesitation, no uncertainty. The black car was already waiting. Of course it was. Everything here was always ready. Ethan followed a moment later. She didn't look at him as he got in, didn't offer help, didn't say a word. The door closed between them, sealing the silence inside. The car pulled away. New York moved around them, faster now, louder, alive in a way the estate never was. Traffic lights blinked. Horns sounded in the distance. People hurried across crosswalks with coffee cups and phones pressed to their ears. Ava watched it all through the window, anything to avoid looking at him. "You're angry," Ethan said after a while. Ava didn't turn. "I'm not surprised," she replied. "That's not what I said." Ava exhaled slowly. "No," she said. "You just said what you wanted me to feel." Ethan didn't argue. The car slowed as they approached a towering glass building in Manhattan. Sunlight reflected off its surface, bright enough to make Ava squint. It didn't look like a place for someone who hid. It looked like a place for someone who owned everything inside it. The car stopped. Marcus was already out, opening the door. "Sir," he said. Ethan stepped out first. This time, Ava noticed everything, the way his foot landed without hesitation, the way he adjusted his posture instantly, the way his head lifted slightly, not like someone listening for direction, but like someone already aware of it. He wasn't pretending to be helpless. He was controlling the illusion. Ava stepped out behind him. The lobby was massive, marble floors stretched beneath their feet, polished to a mirror shine. High ceilings, soft golden lighting, the quiet hum of expensive air systems, and people, dozens of them. Employees moving quickly, voices low, conversations clipped and efficient. But as Ethan entered, everything slowed. Eyes turned, whispers followed. Not loud enough to hear clearly, but enough. Is that him? I thought look at. Ava caught the glances, the sideways looks, the curiosity mixed with something else. Doubt, judgment, recognition. But not the kind she expected. Ava walked beside him, feeling it all press in. Different from the house, sharper, more public, more dangerous. They reached the elevator. Marcus pressed the button. The doors opened instantly. Inside, the space was silent again, contained, safe. For a moment, Ava allowed herself to breathe. Then, the doors opened. The floor they stepped onto was even quieter than the lobby. Private, executive, glass walls, closed offices, people dressed in suits that cost more than Ava had ever seen in one place. And the moment they stepped out, the air shifted. This time, the whispers weren't subtle. "Well, look who decided to come out of hiding." Ava turned. Her stomach dropped. Kayla, standing near the reception desk, dressed in a sleek outfit that didn't belong to the girl she had left behind. But the smirk, that hadn't changed. "Didn't expect to see you here," Kayla said, her eyes scanning Ava slowly. "Actually, I didn't expect to see you anywhere important." Ava didn't respond. Not yet, she kept walking, but Kayla stepped forward, blocking her path. "Wow," she added, circling her slightly. "They cleaned you up nice. Still looks like you're playing dress-up, though." Ava met her eyes. "I'm not here for you." Kayla laughed. "Everything you do is because of me," she said. "Or did you forget who got you that marriage?" The words hit hard, but Ava didn't flinch. Instead, she stepped around her and kept walking. Kayla's smile faltered. Just for a second. Then, "Still acting like you belong here?" she called after her. "You don't." The hallway went quiet again. Ava stopped, slowly, then turned. For a moment, the entire floor seemed to hold its breath. Ava looked at her stepsister. Really looked. At the girl who had laughed while she signed her life away. At the girl who had always stood where Ava wasn't allowed. "You're right," Ava said. Kayla blinked, caught off guard. "I don't belong here." A pause. Then Ava took a step forward. "But neither do you." The words landed clean, sharp, without anger, without shouting, just truth. Kayla's expression tightened. "You think marrying a broken man changed anything?" she snapped. Ava didn't answer. She didn't have to. Because behind her, a voice spoke, cold, controlled. "And you think you understand what you're looking at?" "Ethan." The entire floor went still. Kayla turned slowly. For the first time, there was uncertainty in her eyes. And Ava realized something. The man she thought needed protection wasn't the one being underestimated, not even close. The words hung in the air like a quiet warning. Ethan didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Something about the way he stood, still, composed, completely unmoved by the tension around him, shifted the entire room. Kayla's smirk faltered. "Just for a second." "You always liked making things dramatic," she said, folding her arms, trying to recover. "But let's not pretend this is anything more than what it is." Ethan tilted his head slightly. "And what exactly is that?" he asked. Kayla hesitated. Not because she didn't have an answer, but because, for the first time, she wasn't sure it would land the way she wanted. A transaction, she said finally. A deal. She needed a way out. You needed... She gestured vaguely toward him. Whatever it is you get from this, silence. Ethan's expression didn't change, but Ava felt something tighten beside her. Not anger, something deeper. You speak as if you understand my life, Ethan said calmly. Kayla let out a short laugh. I understand enough, she replied. A rich man hiding behind dark glasses, pretending to be something he's not. Ava's heart skipped. Kayla didn't know, she couldn't, but the words still hit too close. Ethan didn't react, not outwardly. Be careful, Marcus said quietly from behind them. Kayla glanced at him, annoyed. I'm just saying what everyone here is thinking. She turned back to Ava, her tone sharpening again. You really think this changes anything? She said. You're still the same girl from that house. You just got better furniture. A few people nearby shifted uncomfortably. No one stepped in. Ava felt the weight of their silence, familiar, expected. This time, it didn't crush her. She looked at Kayla, really looked, and for the first time she didn't feel smaller. You're wrong, Ava said quietly. Kayla rolled her eyes. About what? About everything. The simplicity of it caught Kayla off guard. Ava took a step forward. I didn't come here to prove anything to you, she continued. And I didn't stay because I had nowhere else to go. Kayla scoffed. Please, Ava didn't raise her voice, didn't need to. I stayed because I chose to, she said. That word, chose, cut through the room. Kayla's smile faded. Before she could respond, a voice called from down the hallway. Mr. Hale? A man in his late 50s approached, dressed in a tailored suit, his presence commanding attention the moment he stepped into view. Good to see you, he said, extending his hand. Ethan reached out and shook it, firmly, without hesitation, without searching. Ava saw it. So did Kayla. The man didn't react. If he noticed, he didn't show it. We're ready for you upstairs, he said. Ethan nodded. Let's not keep them waiting. He turned slightly. Ava, he added. She hesitated, then stepped beside him. Kayla watched them go, something unsettled lingering in her expression. Not confusion, not yet, but doubt. The elevator doors closed behind Ava and Ethan, sealing them away from the noise. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Ava let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. You didn't have to do that, she said. Do what? Step in like that. Ethan leaned back slightly. I didn't step in for you. Ava frowned. No, I stepped in because she was wrong, he said simply. The answer caught her off guard. Again. Let her talk to me like that before, Ava said. Ethan didn't deny it. Yes. Why? The elevator hummed softly as it climbed. Ethan's voice came slower this time, because I needed to see how you handled it. Ava's chest tightened. I'm not some test. No, he agreed. You're not. Then what was that? The elevator stopped. The doors opened. Before stepping out, Ethan paused, then said quietly, Proof. Ava blinked. Of what? Ethan stepped forward into the hallway. That you don't need saving. The words followed her out of the elevator. She didn't respond. Couldn't. Because part of her wanted to believe them, and part of her, the part that had just realized he had been watching, measuring, deciding, felt something else, something sharp, something close to anger. The conference room was already full. Executives sat around a long glass table, their conversations fading the moment Ethan entered. All eyes turned, some curious, some skeptical, some calculating. Ava felt it immediately, the shift, the way people straightened, the way silence settled. This wasn't the reaction to a nobody, this was something else. Ethan moved forward, his steps steady, his posture controlled. Marcus followed, already setting down documents, adjusting chairs. Ava stayed near the edge of the room, watching, listening, trying to understand. "Let's begin," Ethan said, his voice carried, not loudly, but with authority that didn't need volume. A man across the table leaned forward. "With respect," he said, "we weren't expecting you to attend in person." Ethan's lips curved slightly. "I find expectations limiting." A few quiet reactions rippled through the room. Ava noticed everything, the way people looked at him, not with pity, not with dismissal, but with something closer to caution. And then it happened again. A pen rolled off the table, fast, unexpected. Ethan reached out, caught it, without missing a beat. This time more people saw. Ava felt the air change, subtle but real. The illusion wasn't just cracking for her anymore, it was cracking for everyone. And suddenly, being in that room felt different, dangerous, because whatever Ethan was hiding, it wasn't just about him, it was bigger than that. And Ava, whether she liked it or not, was already part of it. She looked at him, really looked at the man who had let her believe one thing, while living something completely different. Her chest tightened, the warmth from the kitchen, the quiet moments, the feeling that maybe, just maybe, she had found something real. It all shifted, twisted, into something harder to hold on to. Because kindness felt different when it was built on something she didn't understand. Or worse, something that wasn't true. And for the first time since she walked into that house, Ava wondered if she had made a mistake staying at all. The meeting dragged on, but Ava barely heard a word. Voices filled the room, numbers, projections, contracts, but they blurred together, fading into the background of something much louder inside her mind. Ethan sat at the head of the table, calm, controlled, commanding. Nothing about him matched the man she thought she had married. Not the way he spoke, not the way others listened, not the way the entire room seemed to orbit around him. Ava watched him closely, every gesture, every pause, every moment where the illusion slipped, just enough for her to see what was underneath. And it terrified her. Not because he was dangerous, but because she didn't understand him anymore. "Miss Johnson?" The voice snapped her back. A man across the table was looking at her expectantly. "I'm sorry," she said. "You were reviewing the draft design," he continued. "Do you have any input?" Ava blinked. "Design?" She glanced down at the papers in front of her. Architectural sketches, clean lines, modern structures, spaces designed with purpose. Something inside her shifted. Familiar. She studied the page for a moment. Then, "Yes," she said. The room stilled slightly. Ethan's head turned. Subtly, but enough. Ava leaned forward. "The layout is efficient," she began slowly, choosing her words carefully. "But it feels cold." A few brows furrowed. "What do you mean?" the man asked. Ava hesitated for just a second, then continued. "There's no space for people," she said. "Not really. It looks good on paper, but it doesn't feel like somewhere anyone would want to stay." Silence followed. Not dismissive, not mocking, just quiet. Ethan didn't interrupt, didn't correct her, he just listened. Ava swallowed, then added, "You need light. Not just windows. Real light. Open space. Something that makes people feel like they belong there." The words surprised even her. They came from somewhere deep, somewhere she hadn't touched in a long time. The man across the table leaned back slightly, considering. "That's an interesting perspective," he admitted. Ava nodded once. "That's all I have." She leaned back again, her heart beating a little faster. The room slowly resumed, conversations picking up again. But something had changed, the way people looked at her, less dismissive, more curious. Ethan didn't say anything, but she felt it. That quiet attention again, the kind that saw more than she wanted it to. When the meeting finally ended, people stood, gathering their things, voices low and controlled. Ava stayed where she was, waiting, not sure for what. Ethan remained seated a moment longer. Then, finally, he spoke. "You've done that before," Ava looked at him. "Done what?" "Spoken like that," he said. "About design." Ava hesitated. It was nothing. "No," Ethan said quietly. "It wasn't." She looked away. "It doesn't matter." Ethan's tone shifted. "Just slightly. It matters if it's something you lost." The words hit deeper than she expected. Ava exhaled slowly. "I didn't lose it," she said. "I gave it up." "Why?" She almost laughed. "Because life doesn't care what you're good at," she replied. "It cares what you can afford." Ethan didn't respond. Ava stood. "I think I've seen enough for today." She moved toward the door, but before she could leave, "Stay." The word stopped her. She turned back slowly. Ethan stood now, not fully facing her, but enough. "You asked me a question earlier," he said. Ava's chest tightened. And you deserve an answer." The room was nearly empty now. Marcus stood near the door, watching quietly. Ethan gestured slightly. "Walk with me," Ava hesitated, then followed. They moved through a quieter hallway, away from the glass walls, away from the eyes. The noise of the building faded behind them, until it was just the two of them, and the truth waiting between them. Ethan stopped near a large window overlooking the city. Traffic moved far below, tiny, distant. "You're right," he said. Ava didn't speak. "I'm not completely blind." The words landed softly, but they carried weight. Ava swallowed. "I figured." Ethan let out a small breath. "I lost my sight for a while," he continued, "after an accident." Ava's eyes narrowed slightly. "What kind of accident?" Ethan's jaw tightened. "The kind people don't like to talk about." That wasn't an answer, and they both knew it. "So you just decided to pretend?" Ava asked. "It wasn't a decision," he said. "It was survival." Ava shook her head. "That doesn't make sense." "It does if you understand what I'm dealing with." "Then explain it to me." Ethan was quiet for a moment, long enough for Ava to feel the frustration rising again. "Then, they tried to kill me." The world seemed to pause. Ava blinked. "What?" "The accident," Ethan said. "It wasn't random." Her breath caught. "Someone did that to you?" "Yes." The word was simple. Final. Ava took a step back. "Who?" Ethan looked out the window. "Someone who benefits from me being weak." A chill ran through her. "And pretending to be blind protects you?" she asked. "It keeps them comfortable," he replied. "People are less careful when they think you can't see." Ava let that sink in, slowly. "So everything I've seen since I got here is real," Ethan said. "Just not complete." Ava crossed her arms, trying to steady herself. "You let me believe you were helpless." Ethan turned toward her. "I let everyone believe that. That doesn't make it better." "No," he agreed. Silence stretched again, but this time it felt heavier, more fragile. "You should have told me," Ava said quietly. Ethan's voice softened. "I couldn't." "Why not?" "Because the moment people know what I can see..." He paused, then finished. "I become a threat." Ava searched his face, trying to decide if she believed him, if she should. "You still lied," she said. "Yes." The honesty caught her off guard. "I did," he repeated. No excuses, no deflection, just truth. Ava looked away. Her chest felt tight again, not with anger this time, but something more complicated. "I don't know what to do with that," she admitted. Ethan nodded slowly. "I'm not asking you to." Another pause. The city moved below them, unaware of the tension unfolding above. I stayed because I thought I understood what I was walking into, Ava said. Ethan listened. I thought I was helping someone who needed it, she continued. You were. Ava shook her head. Not like I thought. No, he said. Not like you thought. The words settled between them, heavy, honest, uncomfortable. Ava let out a slow breath. So what now? She asked. Ethan didn't answer immediately. Instead, he stepped closer. Not too close, but enough to close the distance slightly. Now, he said quietly, you decide if you still want to stay. Ava's heart pounded. The question wasn't spoken directly, but it was there, clear as anything. She looked at him, at the man who wasn't what he seemed, at the man who had told her the truth. Too late. At the man who had just admitted he was living inside something dangerous. And for the first time, Ava realized something else. This wasn't just his secret anymore. It was hers too, and whatever came next. There was no walking away without consequences. The city outside moved like nothing had changed. Cars flowed through intersections. People crossed streets with coffee in their hands. Somewhere, a siren cut through the air and disappeared again. But inside that quiet hallway, everything had changed. Ava stood still, her arms folded tight against her chest. Not for warmth, but for something to hold on to. Ethan watched her, not with pressure, not with expectation, just waiting. You're asking me to stay in something I don't understand, Ava said finally. Yes, you're asking me to trust you after you lied. Yes. Her eyes narrowed slightly. You're not making this easy. Ethan let out a soft breath. I'm not trying to. That answer surprised her. Again, most people would have softened it, wrapped it in something easier to accept. He didn't. Ava turned away, pacing a few steps before stopping again. When you said someone tried to kill you, she began slowly, you weren't exaggerating. No, and you think they're still out there. I know they are. Ava swallowed. And now I'm part of that? Ethan didn't hesitate. Yes, the honesty hit harder than anything else he could have said. Ava closed her eyes for a moment. Her whole life she had tried to avoid trouble, stay quiet, stay small, stay out of the way, and somehow, she had walked straight into something bigger than anything she had ever known. When she opened her eyes again, she didn't look scared. She looked tired. I didn't ask for this, she said. I know. I didn't ask to be dragged into someone else's fight. I know. Then why me? She asked, turning back to him. Why bring me into your life at all, for the first time? Ethan hesitated, just slightly, but Ava saw it, and that hesitation told her more than any answer could have. You didn't choose me, she said quietly. Did you? Ethan didn't respond. Ava's chest tightened. This marriage, she continued, her voice lowering. This whole thing. It wasn't just about your family's agreement. Ethan looked at her now. Really looked. What are you asking? He said. Ava stepped closer. Her voice was steady, but there was something fragile underneath it. I'm asking if I was just convenient. The word lingered. Convenient. Ethan's jaw tightened. No. The answer came quickly, too quickly. Ava shook her head. That's not enough. Silence stretched between them again. Then, Ethan turned away, toward the window, toward the city. There was an accident, he said. Ava didn't interrupt. 5 years ago, he continued, a car lost control on a road just outside the city. It caught fire. Ava's breath slowed. Something about the way he said it. It wasn't supposed to be survivable, Ethan added. A chill ran through her. But someone pulled me out. Ava's heart skipped. The memory came before she could stop it. Rain, smoke, the smell of burning metal, A body slumped inside a crushed car, her hands shaking as she reached in. "No," she whispered. Ethan turned back slowly. "She stayed," he said. "Long enough to make sure I was breathing. Long enough to call for help." Ava took a step back. Her pulse thundered in her ears. "You don't remember her face," she said quickly. Ethan shook his head. "No, then how?" "I remember her voice." Ava froze. "And I remember one thing clearly," he continued. His gaze locked onto her. Even through the glasses, she felt it. A birthmark. The world tilted. Ava instinctively reached for her wrist, the small mark there. Something she had been teased for as a child. Something she had learned to hide. Felt suddenly exposed. "No," she said again, softer this time. Ethan took a step closer. "You were there," he said. Ava shook her head. "I didn't know it was you. I didn't know it was you, either." The truth landed between them like something alive, heavy, unavoidable. Ava's mind raced. That night, she had been coming back from the hospital. Her mother had just gotten worse. She had seen the car, the flames. She hadn't thought. She had just acted. "I thought—" Ava's voice broke slightly. "I thought he didn't make it." Ethan's expression softened. "I almost didn't." Silence filled the space again. But this time it wasn't cold. It was full. Of memory. Of something that had been waiting to be seen. "You saved my life," Ethan said quietly. Ava looked at him, really looked, and for the first time since she stepped into his world, she saw something real, not control, not strategy, something deeper. "You didn't even know who I was," he added. Ava let out a slow breath. "I didn't care," she said. "I know." "Oh, that word again. Simple, certain. And you think that changes things?" she asked. Ethan didn't hesitate. "I know it does." Ava shook her head, though her voice wasn't as strong now. "You still lied to me. Yes, you still made me believe something that wasn't true. Yes, the honesty didn't make it easier, but it made it harder to walk away." Ava turned away again, pressing her hand lightly against the glass. The city stretched endlessly in front of her. So many lives, so many choices. "You said I didn't need saving," she murmured. "You don't, but you needed it." Ethan was quiet, then, yes, closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them. "And now?" she asked. Ethan stepped closer again, not too close, but enough. "Now," he said, "I'm asking if you'll stay." The question was different this time. Not about obligation. Not about contracts. About choice. Ava felt her heart pull in two directions. One side telling her to leave, to protect herself, to not get pulled into something dangerous. The other, quieter, but stronger, reminding her of the man who had said no one should feel small in his house. The man who had noticed her when no one else did. The man who had trusted her with the truth, even if it came too late. "You don't get to decide that for me," she said finally. Ethan nodded. "I know." Ava turned back to him, her expression steady. "I'll stay," she said, a small pause. "But not because of what happened 5 years ago." Ethan didn't speak. "Not because I feel like I owe you," she added. "I wouldn't want that. And not because I trust you." That one lingered. Ethan accepted it. "Then why?" he asked. Ava held his gaze. "Because I want to understand what I just walked into." The answer settled between them. Clear, honest, unfinished. Ethan gave a small nod. "Fair." Ava stepped back slightly, creating space, but not distance. "Just know this," she added. "If you lie to me again—" She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Ethan understood. "I won't," he said. Ava studied him for a moment longer, then turned toward the door. "Good," she said, because this time, she wasn't staying because she had nowhere else to go. She was staying because she chose to, and that choice was about to change everything. The ride back to the estate felt different, not quieter, not louder, just heavier. Ava sat in the back seat again, watching the city pass by in slow motion. The sunlight had shifted now, softer, warmer, casting long shadows across the streets. People still moved, still lived their lives, unaware of the quiet storm building inside that car. Ethan sat beside her, not speaking, not pretending. The first time since she met him, there was no performance between them, just truth and tension. "You should know something," Ethan said finally. Ava didn't look at him. "I figured there was more," she replied. "There is." She turned her head slightly. "Of course there is." Ethan let out a breath. "My uncle," he said. "He's the one who arranged the accident." Ava's stomach tightened. "The one who tried to kill you?" "Yes, and he's still around," she asked. "He's closer than you think." Ava leaned back slowly. "That's not comforting. It's not meant to be." Silence returned. The car turned into the long driveway, the gates opening smoothly as before. But this time, Ava didn't see the house the same way. It wasn't just quiet anymore. It was controlled, watched, and maybe not safe. The car stopped. Marcus stepped out first, scanning the surroundings before opening the door. "Sir," he said quietly. Ethan nodded. Ava followed them inside. The moment she crossed the threshold, she felt it again. That subtle shift, like the air itself was paying attention. Staff members moved as usual, but their movements felt tighter, more cautious. Something had changed. Or maybe she was just noticing it now. "Has anything happened?" Ethan asked. Marcus hesitated. "Not directly," he said. "But we had a report this morning." Ethan stopped walking. Ava did too. "What kind of report?" Ethan asked. Marcus lowered his voice. "A delivery driver claimed someone was asking questions about you." Ava's chest tightened. "What kind of questions?" she asked. Marcus glanced at her. "About your routines, your movements, who you've been seen with." Ava felt the words settle in her chest like cold weight. "That includes me," she said. Marcus didn't deny it. "Yes," Ethan's jaw tightened. "I told you this would reach you," he said to Ava. She nodded slowly. "You did." A quiet moment passed. Then, "What do we do?" Ava asked. Ethan turned toward her. "Right now, yes, we don't panic." Ava let out a short breath. "That's easy for you to say." Ethan didn't argue. "No," he said, "it isn't." Marcus stepped forward slightly. "We can increase security," he offered. "Limit access to the property. Monitor all entries." "No," Ethan interrupted. Marcus frowned. "Sir, no sudden changes," Ethan said firmly. "If he's watching, we don't give him a reason to move faster." Ava looked between them. "So we just wait?" she asked. Ethan met her gaze. "We stay ahead." Ava shook her head. "That sounds like the same thing." Ethan didn't respond. Instead, he gestured toward the living room. "Come," he said. Ava followed him again. But this time, her steps were slower, more careful, like she was walking through something she couldn't see. They entered the same room as before, the same chair, the same window, but nothing felt the same. Ethan moved toward the table. Ava stayed standing. "You can leave," he said quietly. Ava blinked. "What? You don't have to stay in this," he continued. "Not if you don't want to." The words caught her off guard. Again. "I thought you wanted me to stay," she said. "I do. Then why are you telling me to leave?" Ethan didn't look at her. "Because now you know what this is." Ava stepped closer. "And you think that scares me? I think it should." A small silence settled. Ava crossed her arms. "You're trying to protect me," she said. "Yes, by pushing me away, if that's what it takes." Ava let out a quiet breath. "That's not your choice." Ethan looked up at her. For the first time, There was something unguarded in his expression. Then whose is it? He asked. Ava held his gaze. Mine, the word landed firmly. No hesitation, no doubt. I already told you, I'm staying. Ethan studied her for a moment. Then, even now? He asked. Ava didn't look away, especially now. The answer surprised both of them. A small pause followed. Then, a sound, sharp, sudden, from outside. Ava flinched slightly. Marcus moved instantly, stepping toward the door. What was that? Ava asked. Stay here, Marcus said, but Ethan was already moving, not with panic, with purpose. Ava followed before anyone could stop her. They stepped out into the back courtyard. The late afternoon light stretched across the stone ground, casting long shadows from the trees. Everything looked still, too still. Then, Ava saw it, a flower pot, broken, shattered against the ground, right where Ethan had been standing just moments ago earlier that day. Her breath caught. That didn't fall on its own, she said. Marcus crouched down, examining the pieces. No, he said. It didn't. Ethan stood quietly, taking it in. Ava turned slowly, scanning the upper balcony. Nothing, no movement, no sound, just silence. They're getting closer, Marcus said. Ava's chest tightened. That wasn't an accident, she whispered. Ethan nodded. I know. Ava looked at him, her heart pounding. You could have been hurt. I wasn't. That's not the point. Ethan met her eyes. It is to them. The words sent a chill through her. Ava stepped back slightly, her mind racing. They're watching you, she said. Yes, they know where you are. Yes, and now they know about me. Ethan didn't answer, but he didn't need to. Ava exhaled slowly, trying to steady herself, trying to think. This isn't just your fight anymore, she said. No, Ethan agreed. It isn't. Another silence. Then, Ava straightened slightly, her voice steadier now. What do we do next? Ethan looked at her, really looked, at the woman who had every reason to walk away and hadn't. We stop waiting, he said. Ava nodded once. Good, because somewhere deep inside, past the fear, past the uncertainty, past everything that didn't make sense, there was something else, something stronger, a quiet decision. If they were going to come after him, then they would have to go through her first. And this time, Ava wasn't the girl being given away. She was the one choosing to stay. The realization settled deep in her chest, steadying her in a way she hadn't expected. For the first time in a long time, she wasn't reacting to life, she was deciding. The broken flower pot lay scattered across the courtyard, pieces of ceramic catching the fading sunlight like quiet evidence of something that wasn't supposed to happen. Marcus stood, brushing dust from his hands. I'll have the grounds checked, he said. Cameras, access points, everything. Ethan nodded, quietly. Marcus gave a short nod and stepped away, already on his phone, his voice low as he moved out of earshot. Ava remained where she was, her eyes still scanning the upper balcony, still expecting to see something move. But nothing did. Just silence. Too perfect. Too controlled. They wanted you to see that, she said finally. Ethan didn't deny it. Yes, Ava looked at him. That wasn't about hurting you, she continued. That was about sending a message. Ethan's expression didn't change. But you understood it, he said. Ava let out a quiet breath. I grew up around people who didn't say things directly, she replied. You learn to read what's not being said. Ethan studied her for a moment, then nodded once. Then you already know what comes next. Ava's stomach tightened. They push harder. Yes. She folded her arms, grounding herself. Good, she said. Ethan raised an eyebrow slightly. Good? Ava met his gaze. If they're done hiding, she said, then so are we. Something shifted in Ethan's expression. Not surprise. Something closer to recognition. You're not what I expected, he said. Ava gave a faint, almost tired smile. People say that a lot, she replied. The sun dipped lower, shadows stretching across the courtyard. The air cooled slightly, carrying the quiet hum of evening settling in. For a moment, everything felt still again, but not peaceful, never peaceful. Come inside, Ethan said. Ava nodded. They walked back into the house together. This time, Ava noticed everything differently. The way staff members moved just a little faster. The way conversations stopped when she passed. The way Marcus returned with quiet updates. His tone careful, his words measured. It wasn't just a house, it was a system, and something inside that system was shifting. Hours passed. The sky darkened completely, the estate lit by soft golden lights that made everything look calm from the outside. Dinner came and went. Ava barely tasted the food. Her mind stayed sharp, alert, watching, waiting. Ethan remained composed, but she could see it now, the tension beneath the surface, the calculation, the quiet awareness that something was coming, and then it did. Marcus entered the room without knocking. That alone was enough. Ethan looked up immediately. "What is it?" he asked. Marcus stepped closer. "Sir, we have a situation." Ava's chest tightened. "What kind of situation?" Ethan asked. Marcus hesitated. "Then, your wife's family." The words hit like a sudden shift in the air. Ava straightened. "What about them?" she asked. Marcus glanced at her, then back at Ethan. "They've been flagged in an investigation," he said. "Financial irregularities. Asset transfers that don't match legal documentation." Ava's breath slowed. Carefully. "What does that mean?" she asked. "It means," Marcus said, choosing his words carefully, "someone has been moving money that doesn't belong to them." Ava felt something cold settle in her chest. "My mother's things," she said quietly. Ethan didn't speak, but his silence confirmed it. "They didn't just sell them," Ava continued. "They took everything." Marcus nodded slightly. "We've been looking into it since you arrived," he said. "The records don't add up." Ava let out a slow breath. Not surprised. Not really. Just hearing it said out loud made it real in a different way. "They're going to get caught," she said. Ethan looked at her. "They already are." Ava's eyes lifted. "What?" Marcus stepped forward slightly. "The accounts have been frozen," he said. "Authorities are preparing to move." Ava blinked. The room felt smaller for a moment. "You did that," she said, looking at Ethan. Ethan didn't deny it. "I started the process," he said. "The rest is law." Ava searched his face. "You didn't tell me. I didn't know if you wanted that." Ava swallowed, her emotions tangled. Relief, anger, something deeper she couldn't name. "They deserve it," she said finally. Ethan nodded. "Yes." A quiet pause followed. Then, a sound, a phone ringing. Marcus answered immediately, stepping aside. "Yes, understood." He ended the call and turned back. "They've been detained," he said. Ava's breath caught. "So fast? They've been building the case for a while," Marcus replied. "This was just the final piece." Silence filled the room. Ava sat down slowly, not out of weakness, out of weight. All those years, all those moments, being told she owed them, that she was nothing without them, and now it was falling apart, without her lifting a finger. "They're going to blame me," she said quietly. Ethan stepped closer. "Let them." Ava looked up at him. "They will," she repeated. Ethan's voice didn't change, "I know." Another silence. But this one felt different. Less heavy. More open. Like something long held tight was finally starting to loosen. Ava leaned back slightly, exhaling slowly. I thought I would feel something bigger, she admitted. Like what? Like victory? Ethan considered that. And what do you feel? Ava thought about it, then answered honestly. Free. The word lingered, soft, real. Ethan nodded. That matters more. Ava looked at him. For a moment, she saw him clearly, not as the man who lied, not as the man hiding behind something, but as someone who understood. More than she expected, more than she wanted to admit. Then, another realization settled in. This wasn't just about her past anymore. It was about what came next, and something told her this wasn't over, not even close, because if one part of the truth had surfaced, there was more, waiting, watching, and whatever came next wouldn't stay quiet for long. The house felt different that night, not louder, not darker, but awake. Ava stood by the window in her room, looking out at the long driveway stretching into the distance. The lights along the path flickered softly, steady and calm, like nothing in the world could disturb them. But she knew better now. Peace here wasn't natural, it was maintained, and anything maintained could break. She pressed her hand lightly against the glass. Cool, grounding. Behind her the room was silent, perfectly arranged, untouched, a place meant to feel safe, but still too new to feel like hers. Footsteps sounded in the hallway, measured, familiar. Ava didn't turn right away. You don't sleep much either, Ethan's voice said from the doorway. She let out a quiet breath. No. Pause, then she turned. He stood there, no cane this time, no hesitation, no performance, just Ethan. And somehow, that felt more dangerous than anything else. You should knock, she said. Ethan gave a faint smile. I did. Ava raised an eyebrow. You don't hear everything. She studied him for a moment. That small admission, that small truth. It mattered, more than she expected. What do you want? She asked. Ethan stepped inside slowly. Marcus finished reviewing the reports, he said, about your family. Ava's chest tightened slightly. Okay, they're not getting out of it, he continued. The evidence is solid. Ava nodded once. I figured. Ethan watched her, carefully. You're taking it well, he said. Ava let out a soft breath. I'm trying not to feel anything about it, and is that working? She gave a small, tired smile. No. Silence settled between them again. But it wasn't uncomfortable, not this time. Ava walked past him, moving toward the edge of the bed, sitting down slowly. I thought I'd feel angry, she admitted. Ethan leaned lightly against the wall. And I don't, she said. Not really, he waited. I just feel done. The word lingered, heavy, final. Ethan nodded slowly. That's not a bad place to be. Ava looked up at him. No, he said. It means they don't control you anymore. Ava held his gaze. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, why didn't you tell me sooner? She asked quietly. Ethan didn't pretend not to understand. About my sight, she added. Yes. He exhaled slowly. Because I've spent years building something that keeps me alive, he said. And telling you meant risking that. Ava frowned slightly. I wasn't your enemy. I know. Then why treat me like one? Ethan's expression shifted. Not defensive, not cold. Something closer to regret. I didn't know what you would do with the truth, he said. Ava shook her head. You didn't give me the chance. No, he admitted. The honesty didn't fix it. But it mattered. Ava leaned back slightly, resting her hands against the mattress. You keep saying you were protecting yourself, she said. But you never asked if I needed protection too. Ethan was quiet. That one landed. I didn't think, he started. Exactly, Ava cut in gently. You didn't. The room fell still again, but this time something shifted, not tension, understanding. Ethan stepped forward slowly. I'm trying now, he said. Ava looked at him. I can see that. A small pause. Then, I'm still angry, she added. I know, but I'm also still here. Ethan nodded. I know that too. Ava studied him for a moment longer, then asked the question that had been sitting quietly in her mind. Why me? Ethan frowned slightly. I already told you. No, Ava said softly. Not the accident, not the past. She stood now, facing him fully. Why me now, she asked. Why not someone else? Someone who fits into this world better? Ethan didn't answer immediately. For once, he didn't have a quick response, and that told her everything. You don't know, she said. Ethan looked at her. Then, I do, he said quietly. Ava waited. Ethan's voice lowered slightly. Because you didn't hesitate. Ava blinked. What? That night, he continued. 5 years ago, you didn't stop to think about who I was, what I had, what it would cost you. Ava's chest tightened. You just acted, he said. And I've spent years surrounded by people who only act when there's something to gain. The words settled in the space between them. And when I saw you again, he added, you were still the same. Ava let out a quiet breath. I'm not the same, she said. No, Ethan agreed. You're stronger, silence, soft, real. Ava looked away for a moment, her thoughts moving slower now, less sharp, less guarded. Then she turned back. You don't need someone to save you, she said. I know, you need someone who won't let you hide. Ethan didn't respond, but he didn't look away either. Ava stepped closer, closing the distance just slightly. That's different, she added. Yes, he said. Another pause. Then, you can see me now, she said. Ethan's voice softened. I could always see you. Ava shook her head. No, she said. You watched me. The distinction hung in the air. Ethan understood it. And now? He asked. Ava met his gaze. Now you have to choose whether you're going to actually see me. The words were quiet, but they carried weight. Ethan nodded slowly. I want to. Ava studied him for a moment longer. Then, good, she said. The tension in the room eased. Not gone, but different, less sharp, more human. Ava moved back toward the window, glancing out at the quiet grounds again. You said something earlier, she said. Ethan stepped beside her. What was that? That I don't need saving, yes. Ava nodded slowly. I don't, I know. But that doesn't mean I don't want someone beside me. Ethan looked at her, and for the first time, there was no distance in his expression. No, he said softly. It doesn't, or exhaled slowly. The weight of everything that had happened, the lies, the truth, the danger, the past. It didn't disappear, but it settled into something she could carry, something she could face. She turned back toward him. I'm not staying because of the past, she said. I know. I'm staying because I want to see how this ends. Ethan's lips curved slightly. Then we'll make sure it ends right. Ava held his gaze. For a moment, the world outside felt far away, quiet, distant, like everything had slowed just enough for them to breathe. But deep down, they both knew. This calm wouldn't last, because somewhere out there, someone was still watching, still waiting, and the moment they moved, everything would change again. It happened faster than Ava expected. The next morning didn't arrive with warning. It arrived with noise, voices, urgent, uncontrolled. Ava stepped out into the hallway, her bare feet silent against the polished floor. The calm from the night before had vanished completely. Staff moved quickly now, their usual quiet discipline replaced by tension they couldn't hide. What's going on? She asked the nearest person. No one answered. Not directly, but their eyes said enough. Something was wrong. Ava followed the sound of voices toward the main living area. And then she saw him. Ethan stood near the center of the room. No glasses this time, no cane, no pretense. Marcus stood beside him, phone in hand, speaking rapidly to someone on the other end. "They've called an emergency board meeting," Marcus said as he ended the call. "Your uncle is pushing for full control." Ava stopped where she was. Full control. Ethan's expression didn't change. "Of course he is," he said. "He's using the narrative," Marcus added, "saying your condition makes you unfit." Ava's chest tightened. "Your condition?" she repeated. Marcus glanced at her, then at Ethan. "The blindness," he said carefully. Ava let out a quiet breath. "They still think." "Yes," Ethan interrupted. "They do." Silence fell. Then Ava stepped forward. "So we tell them the truth," she said. Both men turned to her. Ethan shook his head. "Not yet." "Why not?" Ava asked. "Because truth only works when it's timed right." Ava frowned. "That doesn't make sense." "It will." Before she could respond, another voice cut through the room. "Well, this is new." Ava turned. The man standing at the entrance didn't belong there, not in the way the others did. He didn't carry quiet authority, he carried something sharper, more deliberate. "Joseph Hale," Marcus said under his breath. "Ethan's cousin." The man smiled slightly as he stepped inside, his gaze moving from Ethan to Ava. "And you must be the famous wife," Joseph said. Ava didn't respond. "I've heard a lot about you," he continued, walking closer. "Didn't expect you to be this." Ava met his gaze. "What does that mean?" Joseph's smile widened. "It means you look like someone who doesn't understand the kind of world she just stepped into." Ava didn't flinch. "Then maybe you should explain it," she said. Joseph chuckled. "I don't explain things," he replied. "I fix them." The word lingered, uncomfortable. Ethan stepped forward. "You're not fixing anything here," he said. Joseph's expression didn't change. "No," he replied, "because from where I'm standing, you're about to lose everything." Ava felt the tension spike. "Not today," Ethan said calmly. Joseph tilted his head. "You're still pretending?" he asked. "That's impressive." The room went still. Ava's heart pounded. Joseph's eyes flicked briefly to her. "You didn't tell her?" he added. Ethan didn't respond. Joseph let out a low laugh. "Of course you didn't," he said. "You never tell people what they need to know." Ava stepped forward. "Say what you came to say," she said. Joseph looked at her. Really looked this time, then. "Your husband isn't just hiding his sight," he said. Ava's chest tightened. "He's hiding the fact that this company, this entire empire—" Joseph paused, letting the words settle. "Belongs to him." Silence, heavy, unavoidable. Ava turned slowly toward Ethan. "What?" Ethan didn't look away. "He's the real heir," Joseph continued. "The one our uncle has been trying to erase for years." The world seemed to shift. Ava blinked. "You're the owner?" she said. Ethan exhaled slowly. Yes, the truth landed, harder than anything else had so far. Not just a man hiding from danger, not just a survivor, a man at the center of it all, and you let them think you were nothing, Ava said. Ethan nodded once. "Yes," Joseph smirked. "Brilliant strategy," he said. "Hide in plain sight. Let everyone underestimate you." Ava looked between them, then back at Ethan. "Why didn't you tell me that?" she asked. Ethan's voice was quiet. "Because I didn't want you to see me the way they do." Ava let out a breath. "That's not your choice, I know." Another silence. Then, Joseph stepped closer. "This is all very touching," he said. "But unfortunately, irrelevant." Ethan's attention shifted back to him. "The board meeting is happening in an hour," Joseph continued. "And when it's over, you won't have a company to protect." Marcus stepped forward slightly. "That won't happen," Joseph smiled. It already is. Ava felt something settle inside her. Not fear, not confusion, something clearer, stronger. She stepped forward, standing beside Ethan, not behind him, not in his shadow. "You're wrong," she said. Joseph raised an eyebrow. "Am I?" Ava met his gaze. "Yes," a pause. Then she added, "Because people who build things on lies always think they're stronger than they are." Joseph's smile faded, just slightly. "And people who've been underestimated their whole lives," Ava continued, her voice steady, "learn how to survive in ways you'll never understand." The room went still again. Ethan glanced at her. Something in his expression softened, not because she was protecting him, but because she wasn't afraid to stand with him. Joseph let out a short breath. "Well," he said, "this should be interesting." He turned toward the door. "I'll see you at the meeting." He was gone. Silence returned, but it wasn't the same silence as before. It was charged, alive. Ava turned to Ethan. "You were going to face this alone," she said. Ethan didn't deny it. "Yes." Ava shook her head. "Not anymore." Ethan looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, he didn't see someone caught in his world. He saw someone choosing to stand in it. "With you," Ava added. The words were simple, but they changed everything. Ethan nodded once. "Then we face it together." Ava exhaled slowly. The fear was still there, the danger, the uncertainty. But something else stood stronger now. She wasn't the girl being given away. She wasn't the outsider trying to survive. She was part of this story now. And for the first time in her life, she wasn't waiting to be accepted. She was choosing where she belonged. And this time, she wasn't going anywhere. When Damon stood in that doorway and whispered, "Dad, it smells like Grandma's kitchen," something in Elijah Carter finally came back to life. The part he thought he'd buried with everyone he lost. And somehow, it was Naomi Reeves, the stranger who refused to leave, who gave that feeling a place to return to. ADD 7 sometimes. The people who save what's broken aren't the ones who belong to it. They're the ones who choose to care anyway. And the hardest truth is this: healing doesn't come from holding on alone, but from letting someone else stand beside you when you least expect it. So next time life feels like it's taken too much from you, remember what Elijah chose to do instead of walking away again. Maybe you don't need to fix everything today. You just need to stop running and let something good stay. Have you ever found something you thought was lost, waiting for you to come back? Tell me below and stay with me, because the next story might change the way you see second chances forever.